Does he want us outside his kingdom?
No.
Whose choice is it to be outside his kingdom?
Ours.
Ours. Did I know that when I was born?
No.
No. How did I become aware that I was born outside his kingdom?
Someone told us.
Study the word.
Someone told
At
us.
some point, you saw Mount Gerizim.
I did. In here.
Mm-hmm.
In here. And here's my analogy, here's my picture of thought. This is the way I see life. This slab is concrete. Is concrete God-made or man-made?
So,
Okay. What's inside concrete?
Rocks, sand, dirt.
Rocks. Are rocks man-made or God-made?
God.
Okay. They're encased in concrete. Now, have you noticed concrete? Concrete freshly poured looks like it's going to last forever. You give it 30, 40 years in some water, and what starts coming out of it?
Rocks.
You give me 30 or 40 years of reading this, and one day all the concrete that has encased me will be gone, and I will be a free man
Wow.
in Him.
That's good.
Amen.
Is it because of my works that concrete is going to disappear? No. But every day that I pick up this word, this so valuable word, that we take for advantage, we just throw it on our tables and go, you know, I might read it today, I might not read it today.
And people are
I did that for
dying.
years.
People are risking their very lives in other countries, and I just like throw this on the ground.
This means nothing. And for years it meant nothing to me. What does it mean to you today?
It's life.
What, do we use this to beat people over the head?
Yeah.
Or do we use this and say, you know, this was a wonderful thing in my life? Read it. I'm not going to tell you what it means. Read it.
You make them start in Genesis
Do
1:1.
you know how valuable this is? Do you really truly know? All the gold in the world could not buy this from me right now. Can it buy yours?
you know, with your analogy and the concrete, though, also, I think it points to what man can do when he uses the ingredients that God made. He can build a foundation for other men. You know, he can lay out a foundation for other men, you know, that you can build on. You know, a strong foundation that will last 30, you know, almost an eternity for us.
No other foundation do I build but Christ Jesus.
It's His foundation, His rock.
Christ Jesus.
And talking about that,
His rock.
we have tools, we have things. What did God say He built His temple with? Unhewn stones.
Right.
That precious stone. Because if man puts a tool to it, puts concrete to it, what's man do? He builds a fence around it, he encases it, he puts a heavy yoke on it. I have a heavy yoke right now. I'm in concrete. I'm still there. But he's slowly washing it off of me. But if I take a hammer, or somebody else takes a hammer to me, all it's going to do is destroy God's rock. I don't want to chip God's rock that He created. So it's pretty awesome.
The Word will wash it away.
The Word washes it away.
The Word is called the water.
It is. It's awesome. It's a beautiful picture. Okay, I'm sorry I got off on it.
No, but it's nice to see. I think it's important to understand that even the concepts that we think of in our language and things like that come from a real base. We call it the water. He called it the water. But the analogies fit in the physical world. Just what water will do, it does, like in the analogy you're trying to make with concrete. It will wash it away and only leave what God created.
That's right. What His purpose is for me. He washes it all once away. If I do here. Now, I can keep pouring concrete on myself if I want. A lot of us do that because we find comfort in it.
Well, it's what we've built our foundations on.
That's right, our traditions. We just keep pouring that concrete on me. But, back to our families. Sometimes, in defense of this, are we guilty of the same thing? They attack us and we attack them right back?
Yeah.
Should we attack? No. Did you should? We should just give him his word.
What
Say,
about, yeah,
read
but
it.
what about the analogy of it being a sword?
It is a sword. When you read it, boy, it cuts deep.
It cuts real deep.
It divides between the soul and the spirit.
It does. When I read it.
So it's for doing more internal.
Who can I change?
No one.
No one.
Not even your soul.
Not even myself. And this is what I found amazing, and we didn't talk about it, but Yeshua, when, we're promised a king. Have y'all read John 14 after reading promised a king? Are y'all familiar with that and what he's stating there? Yeah. I'm sorry, y'all got me off on my favorite subject.
That'll be good for all of us.
Good. Okay, somebody turn to John chapter 14 for me, please. And I'm going to read the king, the prophet. In 18, verse 14, it says, "The nations you will dispossess, listen to those who practice sorcery and divination. But as for you, the Lord your God has not permitted you to do so. The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me among your own brothers. You must listen to him."
You're in John what?
I'm in Deuteronomy. And we're going to,
Oh, we thought you were in John 14.
I am going to go to John 14.
Okay.
But you're in
I
Deuteronomy
was not
what?
seeing that.
18. Started 14. And I'm down to 16. I apologize. "For this is what you asked of your Lord at Horeb on the day of the assembly, when you said, 'Let us not hear the voice of the Lord our God, nor see this great fire anymore, or we will die.' The Lord said to me, 'What they say is good. I will raise up for them a prophet like you from among the brothers. I will put my words in his mouth, and he will tell them everything I command him. If anyone does not listen to my words that the prophet speaks in my name, I myself will call him to account.'" Okay. Now then, that's- that was down to
14 through 19.
19, yeah, 14 to 19. So now then, if we go over to John 14, we have Yeshua sitting here comforting his disciples. Okay, let's talk about the Jewish people. How long did the Jewish people do without, how well and how long did they do without a leader?
400 years.
Right, but when they had Moses, things ran fairly well, right? But he was up on the mountain a few days, and they thought they lost their leader, and how quick did they turn?
They didn't make it 40 days,
40
we know.
days.
40 days. Okay, and so they were 400 years without a leader. How well did they do without a leader?
Not well.
Slavery.
Okay, so you have these disciples, they're with Yeshua, and they're young men probably. And he says, "I am going to go away from you."
They were smart to be worried.
What is the likelihood that things are going to go bad as soon as he disappears?
Historical.
Do you think that they want to hear that he's about to go away from them?
Well, we know that, obviously he rebukes Peter, because Peter's saying, no, you can't do this, because he knows he was spouting his plan. Oh, well, we want this coming now. We know that there's a Messiah. Surely you, him, they knew that. So obviously that means now you're going to come and rule. We're going to get a king back again.
Okay, yes. Now, his disciples, when he spoke to them, they had the word pretty much memorized, don't you think?
Yes.
And our problem is, we read things in here and do we have the word memorized? No. So Yeshua makes statements to his disciples and they see the whole picture. We read it and we want to run off into the wilderness and just do all kinds of things that were based on one verse without understanding the true picture. So What is Yeshua doing in John 14?
He's telling them it's going away.
He goes, do not let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God. Trust also in your Father. In my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, I would have told you. I am going there to prepare a place for you. And if I go prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you may be where I am. You know the way, the place where I'm going. And they're probably thinking, well, that's what they said Moses said. And what, 40 days later, we were off with the golden calf. But then down in 15, what does he promise them? He says, if you love me, you obey what I command, and I will ask the Father, he will give you another counselor to be with you forever, the Spirit of truth. Because he knows that without this counselor, this comforter, in his absence, they could go astray. So he's calming them, and he's telling them, don't worry. I know what was said and what God said, that you have to have someone lead you and stand before. He goes, don't worry about it. I'm going to give you a counselor, a spirit, a Holy Spirit, that will be there in my place while I'm gone preparing this wonderful place to you. That's going to keep you and keep you close to me and not stray. So you don't have to go off and figure this way out on yourself. And here's what, it starts down in 23. It says, if anyone loves me, he will obey my teaching. My Father will love him, and he will come to him and make our home with him. He who does not love me will not obey my teaching. These words you hear are not my own. They belong to the Father who sent me. What was the promise in Deuteronomy? What did God say about this person who was going to come lead them?
It would be like Moses.
He will be like Moses, and he will do what? He will only speak the words I give him to say. Okay? Down in verse 31. But the world must learn that I love the Father and that I do what my Father has commanded me. What is Yeshua telling his disciples right here?
I'm the guy he was talking to.
I am
then.
that guy.
Yep. And that's why he was so angry with the Pharisees, because he goes, you should know, you should see who I am, because I fit all of this stuff that was foretold. You above all people, should know who I am and should see me for who I am, because it was told to you that I would come.
And can you imagine the disciples sitting there going, it is him. He is that king.
This is one of the reasons that I teach that when you get baptized, you baptize not in the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, but in the name of Jesus only. This is a screw of the scriptures you can read about. Acts 2:37-8. They asked me and brother, what shall we do to be saved? Peter on the day of Pentecost. 16th chapter of Matthew tells us where we'll be at. Also Luke 24. And these things are so stiff-laced in here, if you'll read here through. We've got plenty of material on people.
Well, we've got to have that leader, and Yeshua is that leader.
Yes.
And he proclaims it right here in John. Can't be any
John
clearer.
full of
Yeah, John's talking about Yeshua as him. There's only one way, his way. Okay. Well, it's 3 o'clock. I hope I brought some thoughts
We're
today.
not gonna go over this that you gave us?
That's,
It's homework.
that's homework. That's just for your benefit. That's for you to read and sit there and think on. Okay, Lord, what are you trying to tell me with the two tribes sitting there yelling at each other as the people go through? Is there a message there? There's a message there.
There's a message there. Good one.
I'm not going to tell you what it means because I'm not sure. But I gave you homework,
I think you gotta take it back to the
and you got to read this, so you got to understand the story.
and then bring it into the alphabet.
Because then we got to understand what is our ultimate purpose. It's
God, the
the
kingdom.
it's the restoration of the kingdom,
Of the home.
right? And what's the restoration of the kingdom?
The reuniting.
To come back into the land and live with Him in His way and under His laws, which are so nice because they all tell me to teach you nice and to love Him. I can't figure out which of the 613 is going to cause a curse. I've looked at them. They all seem like good things to me.
Well, unless, of course, you're not following.
Yeah.
You can add one word to something.
But I also see, even if I did follow all of them, if I had my little checklist in
Oh,
capital,
yeah, right.
the heart's wrong. He wants me to worship him no matter
Well,
what.
and again, you asked his purpose. Ultimately, his purpose is to glorify.
His name.
Everything glorify him, his name. Right.
His name.
So that's the purpose even in his law. And
Oh, it all gives glory to him, which is awesome. But in my world of thinking, I'm like, what can I get out of this? Unfortunately. Mr. Jenkins, would you like to lead us?